This meeting is now being recorded.
Good day, everyone. My name is Chris Herrick, and I am the Senior Vice President for PACE. I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar in conjunction with our longtime partner, CSG, entitled Empowering Contact Centers for Agility in Uncertain Times. As we prepare to start the webinar, we want to remind you of a few housekeeping items. All participant lines are on mute. If you would like to ask a question, please do so in the chat box on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. We'll get to as many of those questions as possible during the last 10 to 15 minutes of our time today. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording of the webinar will be available on the PACE website in just a few days. If you would like to receive the slides from today's webinar, please just send me an email at chris, C-H-R-I-S, HAERICH@paceassociation.org, and I'll be happy to send them to you. I would like to introduce you to John Stanback. He's the Sales Director for Customer Communications Management at CSG, and he'll be the moderator of our webinar today. John?
Thank you, Chris. Just want to do a quick little brief introduction about who CSG is. As Chris mentioned, we've been partnering with PACE for quite a long time, but we've also been around for more than 35 years. We've really simplified the complexity of business and really delivering innovative customer engagement solutions that help companies acquire, monetize, engage, and retain customers. CSG operates across more than 120 countries worldwide. We manage billions of critical customer interactions annually. Our CCM groups help companies deliver exceptional customer engagement through consistent and relevant interactions at every touch point. We've been a trusted partner for driving digital innovation for hundreds of leading global brands, including but not limited to AT&T, Charter Communications, Comcast, Dish, Eastlink, and many, many more. To learn more about CSG, please visit us on our website at csg.com. Without further ado, I want to introduce the first person who's going to be speaking today, who is Courtney Long. Courtney is a Vice President of Customer Care for Atlantic Broadband. She's been an integral member of the Atlantic Broadband Customer Care Organization for the last 14 years. In her role, Courtney and her team work to really ensure the company is delivering an outstanding customer care experience. She oversees residential and business call center operations, including phone, chat, and dispatch across 4 operating regions. She holds a bachelor's from the University of Pittsburgh and is currently pursuing an MBA from St. Francis University. She's also a member of the Young Professionals of Alleghenies. So I'm going to go over and hand that over to you, Courtney.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And so I'm really pleased and honored to be able to speak to this group today. Never thought I'd be participating in a webinar in this capacity now that I've been in a work from home state for over 2 months, which is certainly abnormal for someone who spends most of her time in a call center environment. And we'll talk more about that later on in some of our content. So a little bit more about Atlantic Broadband for those of you who may not know who we are and what we do. We are the 8th largest broadband provider in the United States. We are up and down the East Coast from Maine to Florida, where we provide internet, television, and phone services to both residential and business customers. Over 470,000 residential and business customers and growing, and about 1,400 employees across all major disciplines within our company. In terms of what we consider to be our operational reality, and this really holds true pre and post-COVID. I think some things are certainly more relevant, and certainly we've seen some changes through our operating triggers and have had to adapt as a result of that. But one of my all-time great colleague or mentors and colleagues has preached for many years that the customer hierarchy of needs is power, water, and broadband. I think that we've learned over the last few months that there might be a few other things that we've learned that people need more than we knew before. But certainly I think that holds true, and certainly the need for for broadband and internet service is all-time high as we've seen obviously a huge shift in customers who are working from home and certainly students who are doing homeschooling. We need to be easy to do business with, certainly in terms of how that factors into the online experience. It needs to be simple and reliable, and how we're modeling our online experience, and even our call center experience is really looking at those who do it best, regardless of industry. Single sign-on is the key, and that's been an evolution for us, especially as we're working towards shifting our customer transactions from 100% call center to online. Employee engagement and satisfaction is largely driven by the tools that they have to do their jobs, and that is certainly directly from the voice of our employees. And then shifting sales mix from call center to online is expected, but we have certainly learned through some trials that the quality of sale is at risk, and so customers buy very differently online versus in our call center. So how we can repeat that magic online has been a labor of love for us over the last several years. And last but certainly not least, billing is not simply billing. When we look at our call volume mix within our call centers, billing is right up there at the top of the heap in what we call our toxic four in terms of call drivers. And it's not just traditional billing calls. Customers who have questions about their bill. And especially now when I look at the situation that we're in this COVID world, I can't pay now. I don't know when I can pay. I don't know when or I don't want to pay what you're asking me to pay, and all the increases that happen for a variety of different reasons. And so finding ways to be transparent, to proactively communicate with customers, and so that there are no surprises, and to have flexible options available is more important now than ever. So there's a lot of content on this particular slide. I'll pick out a few things and really looking at four components of the customer experience, and that's a lot of change. I think within our industry and certainly at Atlantic Broadband, that we have had a lot of growing up to do, especially over the last couple of years, to keep up with customer expectations. And so really that's related to more focus on first call resolution, which we'll talk about a little bit more in more detail in a few of the slides later. We actually just upgraded our phone system, so we transitioned to a new IVR and ACD system. Actually completing that project this morning, so I am fresh on the heels of a fairly major initiative to speak to all of you today. And then using a variety of CSG products and services up to and including field management services for our field technicians that included enhanced appointment notifications and text messaging appointment reminders, which we enabled in July 2019. Proactive communication in all ways, whether it's related to billing or billing increases, payment reminders, and just constantly staying in tune with customers along their journey, and identifying the right touch points has been very important. And that's something that we're continuously refining, especially as we're upgrading our systems especially over the last 12 months, where we have changed out a number of systems over, whether it's our new phone system, a new workforce management system, and launching Visual Connect, which we'll talk about a little later on today. Hiring, so how we hire in our call center has certainly changed dramatically. I've worked for Atlantic Broadband for about 17 years, and so over that course of time, certainly the talent and the requirements for our call center has shifted and changed dramatically. From an inbound sales perspective, certainly instead of just sort of your typical sales agent, your used car salesman, customers are looking for product experts. And so the technical requirements that we always once thought really only mattered within our support teams also matters within our sales departments as well. Work order procedures, so the entry of an order in CSG cannot be a barrier to closing a sale. And so finding ways and working with our CSG partners to simplify that process has been very important, so that our agents are not afraid to sell because the complexity of order entry is too much to overcome. And you know, like, customers want the Apple experience, don't we all? And so, you know, looking at how easy and how simple it is, one click to buy something, and especially as we look at our online efforts, has been a key focus for Atlantic Broadband. And really just trying to be simple, dynamic, and allow customers the ability to customize their packages and have a shopping cart that would enable that was very important. And so last year we launched CSG's Order Services Gateway to enable that customization within our shopping cart, which has certainly increased our online sales mix, which typically was around 10% every month, to now nearly 25% in a very short period of time. So in terms of one of our key focuses in our call center, it's really been related to first call resolution. And I don't think that's anything new, certainly for probably most who are listening in today. But we've partnered with a research firm, SQM, who certainly are experts in a variety of different industries, studying customer behavior and benchmarking research, and some of the statistics that they've provided to us, we think are really important to share, and certainly make a strong case for first call resolution. But I think really boils it down into simple nuggets that show the power and the impact that a focus on first call resolution can have to the business and customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and sales. And so you can see throughout this chart that with really small forward momentum, that you can really shift a reduction in operating costs with even just a 1% improvement in first call resolution, a 1% improvement in customer satisfaction, and first call resolution can equal 1% improvement in customer satisfaction. I think the story here on employee engagement and satisfaction is really cool. 1% improvement in first call resolution can lead to up to a 5% improvement in employee satisfaction as well. And then obviously opportunities for selling and reduce customer at risk and churn by delivering a better experience. What we have found is that despite popular belief that customers really do not want to call us all day, every day to achieve a resolution. And so some of those barriers we have found have been to our own credit. And so when we look at some of the guidance that SQM has provided to Atlantic Broadband on key areas of focus to improve first call resolution, it's really related to 4 different buckets. So performance management, skills and knowledge, technology initiatives, and processes and practices. And so certainly coaching and development is a no-brainer for anyone who manages a call center operation. That is an ongoing, all day, every day initiative for Atlantic Broadband, and I'm sure for many of you as well. And skills and knowledge certainly factors into that. But I think when we look at technology and policies or processes and practices, what we have learned and where we've taken this to heart is that we are in control, and we can control our frontline agents' ability to achieve first call resolution. And so making the right investments in technology and the systems and tools that our folks are using has been very important. And you can see there just some of the systems that we have launched or enabled, and Visual Connect is one that we will talk more about later on today, but also studying our billing system and ensuring, which we use CSG's billing system, is it really rules the world. And so ensuring that we have the right expertise, that we are maximizing all of the tools that exist within what we already have, has been really important. And so especially right now when we look at certainly impacts to non-pay and customers' inability to pay their bill, how can we use functionality that already exists to ensure that our frontline employees can handle those tough calls, and where possible, we can enable self-service so customers can resolve those types of issues on their own. So in terms of our COVID-19 response overview, this is the short list. So from a call center standpoint, one of the first things that we did before we made any modifications to policies, procedures, or even field operation changes is that we focused on taking care of our employees first. We shifted 550 call center agents to a work from home state starting March 13th and completed that within 2 weeks time. So that was really important to get right so that we could clear the path to focus on the many other changes you can see on this chart that we made to our business over the last 60 days. We've launched a new phone system, and as I said at the beginning of my content, that we have grown over the last several years to reach the 8th largest broadband provider in the U.S., operating from Maine to Florida, and much of that was just due to acquisition. And so we've had some legacy systems, different IVRs, different phone systems across our call center. As of today, we are on a common phone platform. We achieved that while our entire call center was in a work from home state. And so we're working through, and all things are going incredibly well. What we have learned by having our call centers in a work from home state is that they're far more capable than what they actually ever thought that they were. And their ability to work through change and resolve issues on their own, if anything, has increased significantly since we've shifted our frontline into a work from home state. And just looking even in our customer care organization, specifically, productivity has increased over 10% over the last 60 days within that department alone. And that's really just through their own self-will and their ability to do the job that in some ways with less distractions than what they had when they were in our call centers. We closed our front counters and shifted customers online through this period of time as well. And really, I think one of the shining stars of our presentation today is that we deployed the Visual Connect tool through CSG or with CSG's partnership to over 500 users in really a 1 to 2 week period of time. It was something that was a tool that we had in a trial state over a 60-day period of time. And we recognized that as we were working through modifications to field operations and shifting customers to self-service, that we needed to fast track our full launch, and we were able to meet that demand, and so was CSG. On the field operations side, this was probably the most challenging group that we had to, in with the majority of issues that we had to overcome. Especially related to safety procedures and sending technicians into customer homes. So we've integrated a number of different processes, including pre-screens and call-aheads, curbside delivery, and then we also launched the Visual Connect Tech app for our field technicians as well. On the product side, we launched a new Internet Assist product, specifically targeting lower income households. And we launched this product both online and via our inbound sales team. This was a unique use case for the Visual Connect tool, as by selling this particular product, there are guardrails or requirements regarding government assistance documentation. And so to speed up that sales process, we actually launched the Visual Connect tool within our inbound call centers, who were then able to validate this documentation in real time with the customer showing this documentation using the Visual Connect application, which went incredibly well. And I think was a delight to speed up the sales process and speed up installs to get these customers connected as quickly as possible. And then in terms of business rules, Atlantic Broadband is participating in the FCC's Keep Americans Connected pledge. And so what that means is that we have suspended our non-pay disconnect procedures and eliminated late fees during this time. Because of that, we are dealing with a number of new challenges related to late payments and really utilizing promise to pay functionality through our call centers and now also through our IVR menu with our new phone system. So in terms of our Visual Connect launch, which I touched about just a few seconds ago, we embarked on a pilot with CSG. We selected 25 of our call center agents, and that was really a mix of our technical support departments, and nearly 70 days of a trial period. In terms of success and really how we measured success and the KPIs that we targeted, it was really related to truck roll avoidance, tool effectiveness, and then agent satisfaction, which was measured by a survey after each use. And in terms of our readout plan, we had to make some quick decisions because of COVID. And so I think when we think about agility and the ability to pivot quickly, certainly we went from 30 days to Rick maybe 1 day. I don't know. So it's all a blur at this point, but we certainly had enough data, which we'll show here in the next couple of slides, to prove out that the tool works. It works incredibly well. It's easy to use. And I think just some of the verbatims that we were even able to collect from our frontline shows that as well. So in terms of key factors for production launch, the training plan for Visual Connect rollout across our production Atlantic Broadband users, really what we had to do in a short of 2 week period of time was ramp from 25 pilot users to 550 users. In terms of policies and procedures, I think the greatest learning curve for us was to really focus on how to normalize the usage of Visual Connect. And in the call center especially, there are so many practices that are just second nature to our call center agents, that now introducing a new tool, while I think it certainly was really cool and it has helped and it significantly aids the support process to reduce unnecessary trouble calls, but it definitely takes some practice and the revisions of scripts and tools that we use to guide them through calls to emphasize the usage of Visual Connect. But certainly it just takes a couple tries, I think, for our call center agents to see how successful and how easy the tool is to use, and then the adoption just switches over immediately. And then in terms of the knowledge base and resolution markups for common issues, the tool has some really neat functionality that our agents can use to create takeaways or cheat sheets for our customers, so that in the spirit of first call resolution, if the same issue happens again, that customers have support documentation that they did not have before in order to resolve the issue on their own. So in terms of the numbers and what success looks like for our 60-day pilot, these are just some of the key stats. So truck roll avoidance, which obviously leads to operating expense reductions. We saw 57% achievement in truck roll avoidance, 92% tool effectiveness, and 88% of our users, our frontline employees, stated that the call was easier because of Visual Connect. And again, this was all measured in a post-call survey that automatically populated at the end of each call. And then the last thing I'll touch on is really the voice of the frontline employee, which I think the metrics matter. Certainly the KPIs matter, but when it gets down to it, I think that this is really powerful. And this is just a small sampling of some of the feedback that we've received. I think that the one that gives me the goosebumps is the last one on the list. And I actually, where my office is in our call center, I was able to actually hear this call. and it was a delight. And this particular employee handled a customer who had some vision impairment, and otherwise would have been unable to effectively troubleshoot, and would have very likely resulted in an immediate truck roll and trouble call. And so because of this tool and the enablement of Visual Connect, this particular call center agent was able to send the customer the Visual Connect link, activate the camera, and walk the customer through exactly the steps that they needed to take to resolve the issue over the phone. And it really just made this particular call center employee feel like a hero. And so back to some of the metrics that we looked at regarding even first call resolution, that employee engagement is so powerful. And I think certainly this is just one example that it takes just one call and one interaction like this to light a spark, and I think just motivate the employees to continue to use these types of tools, and which may interrupt their normal workflow, but I think they have found that it's worth it. And certainly, it's really great when we can make our frontline employees feel like heroes, especially during this time, but really any time. And so with that being said, I will turn it over to Mr. Rick Fernandez.
Perfect. Courtney, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Implementing new technology solutions is always tough, and doing it during COVID when it's not planned is even harder. But the silver lining really seems like you were able to innovate, and as a result of that, reduce cost and increase NPS. So really appreciate you sharing that with us. Our next speaker is Rick Fernandez. Rick is a director of product management at CSG. He's a 25-year veteran in the telecommunications and business support system space. He's responsible for ACP open systems offerings for CSG, which essentially deliver marketing catalog, customer care, and ordering solutions to over 60 million subscribers and over 120,000 agents in North America. He's been driving strategy and customer rollout for CSG's Visual Connect, a solution that was just described by Courtney that enables call center agents to resolve issues through direct web-based interactions with subscribers and field staff, really reducing the need for in-person support calls. Rick, I know we're just running a little bit over, so I will go ahead and turn that over to you.
Thanks, John, and Courtney, thanks for the testimony. I think it was great to hear directly from our customers as to how the tool sets that we have are helping you deal with certainly changing times and a more of a virtualized type of interactions with your customers. So I was just going to expand a little bit on what Courtney described with the CSG Visual Connect offering, and you start to think about what our customers are facing and what Courtney faces day in and day out. It's an increasingly complex world that we're living in terms of the technologies that are there. Now, the end customers see it as simple, but Courtney's job is to make that complexity look simple. So you look at increased appointments for delivering new connects and those types of things, as even in this work at home, school at home type of environment, those demands are going up for sure. And that requires more from a services perspective in terms of the labor involved with that. So those were some conditions that were in place, maybe even prior to the COVID-19 situation that we find ourselves in. Then you add into that the desire and the need to be respectful of social distancing and those types of restrictions. And the thing that resonated with me with Courtney as she was talking was being in a position to protect her employees, but also protect the customers and make sure the proper safety protocols are in place. And with that, it really became a question of how do we provide solutions to our customers in those times in a way that it does so, and also keep in mind that you're affecting the customer experience end to end. So we have an offering here with Visual Connect that really takes a paradigm shift in place with the customers and also with the agents. So you can imagine a situation, especially in that visual impairment type of situation that Courtney described, where a customer is seeing a lot of things that they may not understand. There may be wires and equipment that they're looking at and really trying to describe that through questions like, can you see the white cable? Where is it connected? Is it an Ethernet cable? Is it a LAN cable? A lot of back and forth in terms of just the questions makes it difficult to resolve those issues. And it does raise frustration from the customer's perspective, from the agent's perspective, and really comes down to how do I make sure I'm providing a good service to the customer, and it really comes down to where you have, well, let's send someone to your home to resolve it. What Visual Connect does is turns that into a productive experience. The customer can see and show exactly what they're facing in terms of the problems that they're dealing with their equipment, and the agent can see that directly. So it's literally an augmented visual type of an experience. So instead of asking those questions, what cable are you looking at, I can, with this tool set with Visual Connect, is actually provide the agent with the ability to say, look at the yellow wire, look at the back of the set-top box or the equipment, plug it in here, and it turns it into more of an interactive visual experience as part of just the overall UX provided to the customer. So just imagine it going right over the mobile phone and being able to handle that type of a troubleshooting scenario with an agent, be it remote or otherwise, helping the customer directly through that problem as it's occurring. So what we have seen as we especially looked at the virtualized world that we're now living in, especially with some of the social distancing challenges again, is we are seeing two primary use cases where the benefits are starting to come through pretty loud and clear. One is the customer self-install. So this is a case where you may be shipping equipment as opposed to going into a front office or a actual storefront where you may be sending equipment directly to the customer, and they could be working through those installs on their own, but may need some help. And the other is the remote tech support, where yes, you're still scheduling technicians, but you may not be in a position where you want to send them into the home or send them into the premise. And the ability to bring a tool set into their hands where they can support that virtually. And you can see at the very top in terms of the benefits here are really health and safety for the employees and for the customers. So those ability to handle those situations in that respect and work through a case where you're doing a curbside delivery, dropping off equipment at the doorstep and having the customer bring the equipment into the home, and even have a technician sitting out maybe in the driveway or in front of the home as opposed to going directly in. Being able to work in that type of a capacity really puts, I think, the concerns to the customer to ease, and also for the employees that they're not going to be in contact in a situation where you have something like COVID-19 that might be an impact. It also improves the overall experience itself. So this is a case where the tool is additive to what the customers are using every day. It goes back to that branding idea that you're improving your brand with customers. The tool doesn't require any type of app install from an end customer perspective. So it goes over a mobile link on a mobile device, and then you're into a browser situation. So you're not waiting for installs on the tool from the customer's perspective. You're basically getting right to the point of trying to work through that problem with the customer. And ultimately what that drives is efficiency of the staff, and it drives the efficiency of the users themselves, which drives down the cost. So we're excited about where we're at. Courtney, I think we're at over 700 users now total for the business for ABB, which is great. And what we're seeing as we've gone into this, we've also identified some improvement areas for the tool set itself. So we've improved some of the agent survey capabilities, which really drove some of those employee satisfaction items. And we're also making some improvements from a survey experience, basically making sure those surveys are completed, and we're also going to be implementing some single sign-on capabilities towards the end of this year. So we're excited about it. We're very happy to be part of the successes that Courtney and her teams are seeing with the tool set. And we're rolling this product out worldwide at this point and seeing some other good successes throughout. So won't belabor the point on this, but we can deploy the tool set across industries, across verticals, and we are excited to being able to do it across many different languages and countries as well. So I will, at that point, turn it over to Amy.
Perfect, Rick. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you giving us some more details on that. I think a couple of those pictures look like underneath my desk right now, so maybe I'll be able to use Visual Connect with Help Desk ourselves later on. Amy, I know we got a little bit behind, so quickly, I just want to introduce Amy Allen, who's our Senior Product Manager at CSG. She's an innovative and strategic leader with over 10 years of product management experience and background related to deployment of emerging digital technologies and platforms in support of conversational AI, virtual agents, mobile web agent desktop, social engagement, SMS and mobile messaging, and has successfully led implementations of AI technology projects and launched virtual agents with full transaction capability on web and messaging platforms for over 60 use cases. And Amy,
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So we'll just jump right in here. So as Courtney and Rick had talked about some of the challenges that many companies face, as well as, some of the innovative technologies that are helping to address some of those pain points. I'm going to pivot into conversational AI. And one of the premises really around this is that consumers are wanting to interact in an increasing number of channels, which drives up a lot of costs into the call center, right? Because you've got to have agents behind those interactions. So if we can automate that, we can help to take some of those costs out of the call center. So we're going to talk about what that looks like today. I'm not going to go into a lot of these overall market trends, but a couple I will point out is that Gartner and Forrester are really predicting a lot of business value in implementing CAI. Over the next 10 years, Gartner is saying 1.2 trillion, and Forrester is predicting 8 billion by 2022. So you can see there's a lot to come in this space and a lot of focus on it and a lot of efficiencies to be obtained. Before we jump into really what CAI is, I want to talk about the difference in CAI versus what we refer to as a dumb bot, which is what you typically see in the marketplace today. A lot of times it's very static. It's a very if-then type of scenario. It's very tree-based. You may have 2 or 3 choices you can pick from, and then you get 2 or 3 more choices. And a lot of times it's just FAQ-based. So it ultimately ends up landing with a live agent because there is no personalization or transactional abilities. Whereas that's where we really see CAI as a huge opportunity to drive those efficiencies. And if we look at what some of those applied use cases are, you've got your traditional customer service, which is what we typically see. This can be infused into a sales and marketing assistant as well, and then into an enterprise assistant that is your internal staff, like perhaps HR, IT help desk, recruitment. A lot of those scenarios can be automated. Agent assist in providing information up to the agent so that they're not having to search through a huge knowledge base, because that virtual assistant is listening in to what the customer is asking about. The virtual assistant can also sit on the agent's desktop as a support assistant as well. And then lastly, voice of the customer. So the platform that we deliver for our customers can take a lot of unstructured data and ingest it, and then really make sense of it, understand why customers are reaching out to you, what they're interacting about, how they're saying it, what it is they're really needing help with. So these are some of the 5 applied use cases we typically see that work really well with conversational AI. So as a holistic view, what's this look like for the contact center? So if we start on the left and we move to the right, so if you've got a customer or prospect coming in, and as I mentioned earlier, they're driving really the channels that they want to interact in, whether that's web chat, messaging. We see this oftentimes, unfortunately, on social, where typically they're blasting brands because they're frustrated and they want an answer. There's your traditional IVR, and then we are seeing some movement with the smart home assistant. So today, all of these go into a contact center, whether that's through an IVR, a chat and social engagement platform, and sometimes it's calls directly into a store. And obviously, these are going to a live agent today. Typically, there's some rule-based routing based off of what they've selected in the IVR, maybe some keyword triggers. But tomorrow, this can be a virtual assistant that sits behind this, not a dumb bot. It's an intelligent virtual assistant
that leverages a hybrid NLU that's a combination of machine learning and linguistics. There's a really intuitive dialogue manager that allows us to build out what that journey looks like, so that when we've understood that customer's intent and what they want to do, we can then, they're on the right side, integrate into a variety of different platforms via APIs to make it personalized, to make it transactional. So as Courtney had mentioned earlier in regards to a lot of the billing scenarios that are coming in, and even more so today, if we've got an integration into a billing platform and a CRM, we can set up that payment arrangement. We can arrange for that promise to pay. We can assist that customer and have the ability to take the live agent out of some of those interactions and maybe have them focus on some of the more complex type of calls that are coming in or chats that are coming in. So there's a variety of different systems that we can integrate into and infuse that into that customer journey. So where's the ROI and where's the rubber meet the road on this? So if you think about 1 million interactions per year that a live agent is handling, and let's just assume conservatively it's $6 per interaction. That's $6 million per agent cost per year. Now let's take again a conservative number of 25% containment at $1.50 per interaction. That's going to be $375,000 for a virtual assistant. So if you look at the cost of the combination of the live agent and the virtual assistant, you have the ability to potentially save $1.1 million. And that's just a 25% containment rate. You think about if you work towards even a 40 or a 50%, what that can really mean to the bottom line. That's really powerful. So I'll touch briefly on a use case. We implemented this for an innovative technology leader. Some of the problems that they were trying to solve is they had a traditional IVR and they really wanted to move to a next gen platform that was leveraging CAI. And it was a touch tone where you press 1, 2, or 3 for whatever it is you're wanting to do. What was happening through that is they had a huge amount, up to about 60% of tech support calls that were being misrouted to sales support agents. So then that was delivering a really negative customer experience because they were getting bounced around from agent to agent, and they had the agents had no visibility into what they had told the previous agent. So it was a poor customer experience, and it was obviously driving up average handle time for that agent, which again was driving up operational costs. So by moving to our CAI-driven solution, we were able to understand the customer's intent, and right out of the gate, they wanted to fix the problem. They wanted to get it to the right agent. So we did that immediately. And then following that with back-end integrations, as I'd mentioned earlier, we were able to then make those interactions personalized and transactional by pulling in some of the data from the back end so that we could then drive towards containment. So what are some of the considerations to think about when embarking on a CAI project? So there's the ability to be cloud-based, which we know everybody's moving to the cloud. Again, the integration of the back-end systems to really make it personalized and transactional. That's what customers are craving. They don't want to have to tell the agent who they are. They don't want to have to tell the agent, what services they have. And we can do that with the virtual assistant proactively. And again, as I've talked about, the AI-powered intelligence allows us to be really agile and build that ROI and recognize that ROI rapidly. And again, this just aligns perfectly with a customer service strategy that's focused on digital transformation, improvement in that customer experience, as well as driving down costs. I'll turn it back to John.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy. Really appreciate that. And just a reminder, if anybody has questions for any of our speakers, please use the chat box for that so we can see that. But knowing that we have about 13 minutes left, there's been some questions coming in here. So I will go ahead and look. Courtney, it looks like the first question is for you. And that question is, what drove your decision to close the local offices?
Sure. So not an easy decision. So what drove the decision initially was our COVID response plan. Certainly in the states where we operate in, there were state and local mandates. And although Atlantic Broadband, like other providers within our industry, is considered an essential services provider, and we have remained operational, that we wanted to mitigate the risk to our employees and our customers by suspending operations at our front counter locations. Now, Atlantic Broadband front counter locations are what I might classify as traditional cable operator front counter locations. They're not necessarily known or are as cells or retail centers, so to speak. So the majority of transactions are related to payments or equipment related transactions. And so as we made the decisions to close our front counters due to the COVID situation, we then made the decision to shift our focus on enabling easier options for customers to make payments online or through our automated phone systems, and then launching shipping programs to allow customers to swap or return equipment, which are the two primary drivers of equipment-related transactions online. And so for us, we made the decision to focus more on how to improve efficiencies in the customer experience by focusing our time and our resources on the online experience, whether it's related to payments or equipment transactions. So we've seen some longer term by definition of being really the last 60 days, high adoption into those channels because the front counter option was no longer available. And that's just a wave that we're going to continue to ride and monitor that very closely as it relates to our NPS and customer satisfaction scores, which we've continued to produce surveys during this time, and there has been no impact to those surveys. If anything, our NPS scores have increased over the last 60 days in this COVID situation.
Perfect. When you were looking at that, did you happen to know what the opt-in rate was from customers for Visual Connect?
I don't know, Rick, I'm not sure if you have data on the opt-in rate for Visual Connect, which would be measured by our surveys, but just anecdotally in the feedback that I've received from the frontline, when our frontline agents offer this option, the opt-in rate has been high, and some of the issues that we thought might be present, such as customers who are concerned about privacy, or do not have the right cell phone or mobile phone technology, is actually very minimal. And even looking at the use case that I spoke about regarding our cell sensors using Visual Connect for documentation validation regarding our Internet Assist product, it was the adoption in opt-in rate was very high within that group, and if anything, it eliminated the barrier to close the cell. So
yeah,
so Rick,
I would just add to that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I would just add to that we went from the pilot implementation that we had with ABB within 2 to 3 weeks to not only ABB using the product in a production setting, we actually rolled out in within about 30 days to 5 other customers. And the opt-in rate is very, very high, as Courtney mentioned. The ability to start the tool from an end user or subscriber perspective, which is basically an SMS with a mobile link into it, and with a few acceptances on terms and conditions, you're literally into a shared visual session within a matter of 30 seconds to a minute. So that alone has driven up the opt-in rate. So the ability to opt into the use of the tool is very, very low. There may be some privacy concerns that customers have, but typically when you're trying to resolve an issue, that's front of mind, and I think it's been a very successful type of a change to operations for a number of our customers as they rolled it out over the last 30 days.
Perfect.
Yeah,
And Amy, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, especially in this situation where a trouble call could be delayed or suspended, that I think that just naturally drove higher adoption. Even though we never faced a challenge in that capacity, but certainly this tool has come to the rescue, I think, in just a number of scenarios that we have faced over the last 60 days.
Perfect. And Amy, a question for you that came in here. If somebody already has chatbots in place, why would they need conversational AI, and how would they go about kind of transitioning to that?
Yeah, no, we get this question a lot of times as many companies have played around with the technology and have deployed the chatbots that are typically more FAQ based, or maybe the technology they deployed they're struggling with. So we can certainly take what they have developed and leverage that via our NLP pipeline. So if there's been training of intent that has been done, we can definitely leverage all of that work, as well as if there's any particular type of customer like responses as well. We can leverage all of that. But really where the difference is the personalization and the transactional type of capabilities that we can then add into what's already been deployed.
Perfect. And that type of differences is really what would take that containment rate going up, showing that ROI that you had a few slides back.
Yeah,
perfect.
Absolutely. And all of the engagements, and when we work with our customers, we're definitely working towards how do we drive your containment and save you money through this technology.
Okay, perfect. And we do have another question here for Rick. Rick, I know we concentrated a lot on this in the cable space. How would you use Visual Connect if you were more in retail or kind of consumer electronics?
Yeah, I mean, you think back just to the basic fundamental idea behind the tool set, which is to allow for issues to be resolved directly between an agent or a support person and the customer. So it's very applicable across even those industries. So if you're having issues with installing home equipment from a stereo or from a entertainment perspective, or even if it was a case of appliance repair, those types of things, the tool is very much oriented towards that. Again, the idea is to provide the ability for a customer to contact someone, even if it's a support ticket that might be filed with for warranty reasons, those types of things. The tool is absolutely set to manage those situations as well. So you look at just, again, the idea of resolving technical problems or user issues that you might have with any type of equipment, be it anything related to IoT or any other type of equipment like that. It's very much oriented to support those types of scenarios as well.
Perfect. And we have time for just one more question if anybody else has anything final. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Chris Herrick.
Thank you very much, John. So that's all the time that we have today. I would like to thank Courtney, Rick, Amy, and John for this eye-opening and, highly informative webinar. Got a little tongue-tied there. As I said, the recording of the webinar will be available on the PACE website in just a few days. We hope to see you soon at another PACE webinar, or national, regional, or chapter event very soon. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.